Chapter 22, Radioactivity. Let's recap on the composition of an atom. So the nucleus consists of protons, neutrons, and electrons that orbits around the nucleus. The atomic charge of an electron is -1, proton +1, neutron 0. Standard names and notation. Capital X here is the chemical symbol obtained from the periodic table. A here is the mass number or the nucleon number. Z here is the proton number, which is the number of protons, or the atomic number. So let's look at isotopes. Isotopes are the same element that have the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. This is an example of a helium. It has 2 protons, 1 neutrons, 2 protons, 2 neutrons. So they are isotopes. Looking at this question, which 2 nuclei are isotopes of the same element? Isotopes have the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. So answer P and Q. What is nuclear decay? Nuclear decay is a process by which an unstable nucleus loses energy through emitting particles, beta or alpha particles, or EM radiation in the form of gamma rays. Such processes is spontaneous, means it does not get triggered by external influences, and it's random because you cannot predict the direction of the radiation or when it will occur. 3 types of nuclear emission: alpha, beta, and gamma. Let's look at alpha particles, which are also helium particles. Its ionizing effect is the highest, followed by beta particles, which is the medium, and lowest in the gamma rays. However, its ability to penetrate is the least. It's stopped merely by a piece of paper. For beta particles, it's medium. They are stopped by a few mm of aluminium. For gamma rays, they can penetrate through many materials, and they are only stopped by thick lead. So looking at alpha radiation. So alpha radiation occurs when the nucleus emits a particle that consists of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. In other words, helium, the element helium. So you can see this as a helium molecule. So this is an example of a radiant nucleus undergoing alpha decay. It becomes radion by emitting a helium. Let's look at beta radiation. So beta radiation is when a neutron in the nucleus becomes a proton and releases an electron. The example here is carbon-14 becoming nitrogen by emitting a beta particle. So you can see beta particle as an electron. Lastly is the gamma radiation, where an energetic nucleus loses energy by emitting high-frequency EM wave. Okay, so this high-frequency EM wave is a gamma ray. A quick example. The nucleus of a magnesium decays into a nucleus of a sodium by emitting a beta particle, which is also an electron. So which means here P still remains at 23, but Q here, because the neutron becomes a proton and an electron, it gains a proton, so it becomes 13. So answer is D. What is background radiation? So radioactive material exists in our environment. They can be found in soil, plants, rocks, and air. And they actually do produce background radiation. However, most of this radiation is small and not dangerous. Okay, what is a half-life of a radioactive isotope? It's defined as the time taken for half the nuclei in the sample of isotope to decay. This is actually measured using a Galois-Muller counter. Okay, usually measured in terms of counts per second or counts per minute. Okay. So fewer radioactive nuclei equals to lower activity. And this activity can be measured as in Becquerel. So 1 BQ is actually equals to 1 decay per second. So in here we also can add activity slash BQ over time. So let's look at what is a half-life. Initially it started off with 120 million. It drops down to 60. Okay. then it drops down from 60 to 30, 30 to 15. So the time taken for each halving is the half-life. And you realize that the half-life is constant at 8 days. One quick example, a radioactive source has a half-life of 0.5 hours. Okay. It has a reading of 6,000 counts per second. What is the reading after 1.5 hours? So 1.5 hours equals to 3 half-lives. So from 6,000, it will drop down to 3,000, one half-life, 1,500, another half-life, and the third half-life, 750. Answer 8. Next, what is nuclear fusion and fission? For nuclear fission is when the nucleus of the atom splits into two parts, releasing a large amount of energy. Okay, so one example is uranium-235. Okay, it's being triggered by a neutron. Okay, so it breaks up into krypton here and barium. Okay, and then through this process, it actually releases more neutrons. And with these neutrons, they can actually trigger other uranium-235 to break down further again. So krypton, barium again, which releases more neutrons. And this reaction can lead to a chain reaction. And this is actually what is used for a nuclear bomb or nuclear reactor. Nuclear fusion. So nuclear fusion is when two light atomic nuclei combine to form one heavier nucleus. Okay. So this is usually happens in stars. Okay, because it requires high temperature and high pressure. And the loss of mass is actually converted into energy. So both process, nuclear fission and fusion, produces energy. Okay, what are the uses of radioactivity? First, if you have a fracture, you can usually use X-ray to search for the fracture. However, most of the time, these are actually given in low dose and short half-life. You can also use radioactivity to destroy cancer cells. Okay, this is known as radiotherapy. Okay, it's done in National Cancer Center, NCIS, under NUH. It also can be used to measure thickness of material, which should have been done for the submersible. It also can use for carbon dating to check how old a fossil is. Okay. The hazards of radioactivity, although controlled radiation can kill cancer cells, but this will actually still damage healthy cells that are nearby the cancer cells. And when we have nuclear plants, there may be leakage of these radioactive substances that can damage living things or even animals around it. That's why it's actually very expensive to dispose of nuclear waste from nuclear reactors. And that's the end of this chapter.